Welcome to the second season of the Resilient Tourism Podcast. This time, we've invited world-renowned digital tourism experts to share their views and encourage everyone to participate in the data-driven digital transformation of the travel sector. This podcast is created with the support of the InnoSwiss-funded flagship Resilient Tourism and is produced by EHL Hospitality Business School. Enjoy!
Welcome to a new episode of our podcast series. I'm Alessandro, and I will be your host for this episode. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome on our virtual stage Professor Dimitrios Buhalis. Besides being a good friend and a mentor, Dimitrios is a strategic management and marketing expert with specialization in information communication technologies, smart environments, and interactive marketing. He is an expert in technology application in the tourism, travel, hospitality, and leisure industries. He is professor of smart tourism at Bournemouth University Business School and editor-in-chief of Tourism Review and the Encyclopedia of Tourism Management and Marketing. So, Dimitrios, did I forget anything here?
You've forgotten a lot of things, Alessandro, but that's not the point. People are not waiting to hear my profile. They can see that online on buhalis.com.
Okay, can you tell us something unexpected about you, Dimitrios? Something that makes you proud?
I'm a scuba diver. I've done the maximum, the deepest I've gone is 35 meters. I haven't scuba dived for a while, but I really enjoyed very much, and I keep surprising all the instructors by pointing at lobsters or different fish, and I refer that to them as dinner, and that really surprised them.
Okay, that's very unexpected, actually. So let's get into the topic of this podcast. Could I have your definition of digital transformation and datafication in the travel and in tourism sector? And why does it matter for travel stakeholders?
Well, you described my life, really. I mean, I started dealing with technology when the first technology I had to learn was telex with a tape. You were typing a telex that was creating a tape, and then you were feeding that tape in, and that was transmitted to the other end. So it shows how old I am. But technology is keep changing the way we operate, and the first big technology I had to research about was the fax, because the fax it was basically a huge revolution to be able to send a page from one side to another. And ever since then, in my 37 years that I work as a researcher in technology and tourism, everything is changing with a huge transformational change of the internet, obviously, in that it became on the public domain 95. I was finishing my PhD at the time, and I had to rewrite most of it. And then now we're going towards the AI era, and now we're going through the new huge transformation again. So I would expect that there's total re-engineering of what's happening that happened with the internet that came into play in 95, and then for the first 5 years, 95 to 2000, a lot of people had different kind of ideas on what the internet would do, and then after 2000, we got serious about what the internet would actually do, and it has taken us for about 25 years. To see how things can be transformed on the Web 1 and the Web 2. And now we're getting to a situation where we're going to have another huge revolution, if you like, in technology, which will be AI.
So how this AI revolution is going to affect tourism stakeholders in general, in your opinion?
I think it will be huge. I think the first thing is a lot of people are talking about AI, but they don't really understand what AI is. And I really want to make things simple. So AI is software that thinks and decides and acts. Okay, so the bottom line of this is that it's software. It's a code that is thinking, deciding and acting, and also learning of the consequences of the act. So if we understand what's going to happen is that effectively the machine or the software is going to decide, make decisions. And a lot of these decisions will be done instantly based on huge amount of data that will be analyzed instantly. Now, I'm old enough to remember that hotels had three prices. They had the high rate, the middle rate, and the low rate. And this was the situation where hoteliers will decide one base rate, and then they'll increase that to 20% to have the high rate, and reduce it by 20% to have the low rate. Now, when I started my career in the 1980s, this is how people were doing pricing and revenue management. Now, of course, you've got people that are adjusting prices instantly throughout the day. So you can have 50, 100 different rates adjusted per day. That's a small decision that the hotel manager, or later on the revenue manager, was making. And at that time, the revenue manager was a very important position that was a little bit numerical. And what they are trying to do, they were trying to optimize revenue. Imagine now when the machine is doing this, that is not only optimizing revenue, but is calculating costs and calculates ancillary services, calculates all the other benefits that the hotel can have, also in terms of sustainability and environmental cost, in terms of reputational cost and benefits, all of those things, looking to all the competition instantly and looking at all the different parameters that are influencing demand and supply. So just a simple thing that's revenue management, partly because I'm speaking on a conference on Thursday in London about revenue management. I was kind of thinking about different examples to tell them. Just a simple thing, right?
That's fascinating, Dimitrios. This is actually what we are looking for. Do you have any other example than revenue management in which this?
Of course. How long have you got? I can tell you so many examples. Let's talk about menu engineering, right? So the chef was creating the menu, and I remember the chef sitting down with the owners and everybody else, create a menu at the beginning of the season. And guess what? For 8 months, they were serving the same food. Can you imagine? They didn't know what the market price would be for fish or for meat or for different things. They were calculating in March what they'll serve for the next 7 to 8 months. They didn't know how many people will be vegetarian. They wouldn't know how many gluten-free you have. You didn't know how many Italians you have. You didn't know how many Koreans you have. You didn't know how many diabetics you'll have. And you had a menu for 8 months, pre-decided in March. Can you imagine? Now, would you like me to tell you how AI is going to change this?
I think I can guess it.
Thank you so much.
But, one thing that is fascinating is the fact that what is empowering AI is this huge amount of data that they are using to, as you said at the beginning, really making decisions. What is, in your opinion, the benefit of collecting and sharing data in tourism? And what are the challenges? Then, of course, we'll go to AI, but also starting from this stepping stone of collecting and sharing.
I think the big advantage of AI is not the data, it's the real-time decision-making. Because in the humans, they had to take awfully lot of time to make decisions. They had to sleep at night. So you had 8 hours that they were going away. Weekends, they are not working. And all the data that they had, they could handle a small amount of data and a small amount of information that quite often was historical data. It was not real-time data. I think what the benefit of the AI is the capability of managing and dealing with real-time data and with the ability of analyzing and deciding at nanoseconds. And the other major benefit that you have got is the machine learning, that the machine every time learns from the experience. So if you are, I'll give you a real example. When I was working the Club Med, we had 1,200 guests. 500 of them were Italian. The third day that the French chef did not cook a pasta dish, the Italians went straight into the kitchen and they told him in no uncertain terms that they really want their pasta.
I can relate.
You can relate. So the situation is that the feedback at that time had to be dramatic. They got themselves organized, and 300 Italians went straight into the kitchen of the Club Med in Corfu and they said some not nice words. Now, the minute that something is served, AI will have the capability of understanding interactions, photographs that you take, ratings that you do, what you're saying, what you leave in your plate, to be able to actually provide feedback on what you like and what you don't like. I don't know how many people like broccoli. So if AI realizes that broccoli is food waste every time, are we going to have broccoli in the menu? Are we going to have broccoli plated with a steak? So it's these kind of things that there'll be applications that will be driving a lot of these very interesting things.
Our project, Dimitrios, as you may know or you may remember, is about resilient tourism. And it's really about how data, and as you're mentioning, the use of data, maybe through AI, can actually make the field of tourism, the wider field of tourism, more resilient. Do you think that through data and AI, this can happen?
So let me understand, what is your definition of resilience?
The project started after the COVID pandemic. And the idea was that by knowing better your traveler, your offering, and by cross-referencing all these kind of things, you can create new products, new business models. You can have systems that can somehow predict the reaction of the entire tourism system towards very unexpected things, very unexpected events. And so the idea was to put together all the stakeholders that were producing data to share data in order to augment the resilience of the entire system.
So that's a perfectly beautiful academic paper that the industry is not using. Very few people in industry understand that. For me, resilience is quick recovery. It's basically bouncing back. Okay, I really want to use simple terms. So resilience is something bad happens and you really need to come back quickly, or you need to keep going at adverse conditions. To do that, data can help you, because what happens is that you learn from past experience and you learn how to make quick decisions in a way that you can take forward solutions that will be accepted in the market faster, and they'll bring you back in the market faster than anything else. In reality, what has happened, first of all, COVID has never happened before. You know, the level of distraction that we had with COVID has never happened before. So nobody could ever prepare us for what happened with COVID. And then the recovery from COVID is also very unique in the sense that we went immediately into revenge tourism. And what's happening is that people were flying and people who were going everywhere, they were paying incredible amount of money. If you see currently the profitability of the airlines is shocking. It's absolutely shocking, because what's happening is that the airlines are charging very high prices. Still people complain about it, but they still travel. So the situation is that, in theory, data can help us recover faster In reality, what has happened is that we never had data for this kind of situation before. And I think the only thing that will enable us, and a lot of the industry has recovered immediately, almost instantly, because people realized that travel and tourism is inelastic. Despite the increase of prices because of the fuel costs and because of the inflation, tourism and travel is going very, very strong everywhere in the world. Okay, so back to your project. Is data enhancing resilience? Yes, it does. By bringing smartness into the place. I don't know if you've seen the paper that we have published recently with Alicia. That's her PhD. And there what we do is that we say real-time, we talk about real-time response and resilience. And real-time response is that different elements of the different industries are coming together to reduce the response to the impact of the disaster, improve response, and reduce the impact of the disaster. So this is where we are arguing that in real time, if you collect all the data, because currently what's happening when you have a disaster is that some people say the bomberos, the firefighters have got some information, the police has got some other information, the Ministry of Internal Affairs or whoever is coordinating has got some things, the hospitals have got the different things. So what we're arguing is that if you've got all this big data that's being shared and you understand what's going on. So with the COVID situation, you can see where epidemiologically you've got a high level of load, then you know immediately what's going to happen next. That you're going to have a lot of cases, the health system is going to be under pressure, and a lot of the services will be disrupted. If you're looking into a fire as a disaster, you can predict with meteorological models and morphological models where the wildfire is going to go. And then you can predict actions that you can take in order to improve response. So where to evacuate? Do you evacuate a hotel with 2,000 people or do you leave them there? Very important questions. And then what do you do in order to protect this environment? And then when the fire gets over, what do you do in order to recover from the disaster and maximize the resilience? So these are the key questions that big data and technology and smartness will enable us to do, mainly by coordinating different actors, by sharing information and data, and by predicting what's going to happen proactively and reactively. You predict in advance and you've created your models and you're waiting for what's going to happen. And then when it's happening, you take the measurements and you take the impact of what is happening in real time and you respond to this as soon as possible. So in that situation, you improve resilience by coordinating all the actors and by sharing data and by engaging the different actors in the best possible way.
What about business models? What about new ways of doing business thanks to this data and smartness? I understand the resilience part, although I found it very complex. Does the tourism industry can benefit from this data and this smartness to have new business models and new ways to engage with the customers?
I think real time, and you remember from the time we worked together, real time is really, really critical in terms of creating new business models. And increasingly, tourism is contextual. So we are doing things that they are in particular, that they address the particular needs of particular customers in a particular context. Having said that, most of the tourism industry so far is operating traditionally. It's what I was telling you earlier. Let's create the menu that we're going to serve for the next 8 months, and that is the level of planning that we've got. Now, in reality, when you go on the floor shop, And when you're going to the restaurant, when you're going to the hotel, where you're going, a lot of things, a lot of people are doing customization and hyper-personalization, but they're doing it out of the goodness of their heart and without necessarily understanding what they're doing. So you arrive with your bambino, and your bambino would like an egg, and there's no egg in the menu. But Georgia, the nice restaurant manager, goes to the chef and says, "Hey, bambino would like an egg," and the chef is frying an egg on the spot because of the bambino would like an egg. So we are doing a lot of these things on the shop front, and we're doing it employee to customer co-creation. Now, the problem is that we are not learning from that. So the employee goes away with that knowledge and the organization not getting involved. If I'm on a bar, I know which customer would like a chamomile and which customer would like a double whiskey. But this is my own personal expertise, and that is my own personal benefit, which in fact is quite often, we are calling it professionalism. This barman is really professional, right? Now, what AI is going to be able to do is understand from different measurements what you need before you need it. It will understand your preference and fetch information. You are not going to look for information. Information is going to find you. So when we travel together, you know that I'm not going to look for a fancy Michelin star restaurant, but I look for a nice Mama Trattoria that is doing nice, honest food in the old traditional way, wherever it is, right? So for the time being, when I'm searching for information, most of the information will be alphabetically A to Z. And if I'm a little bit lucky, it will be zoned in regions, locations, or it will be zoned by, I don't know, how expensive it is or whatever. Effectively, you are filtering a database. All the data search for the time being is filtering databases. AI will be your clever friend or your cousin that says, I know a place that you would like, because I know what you like. And I will know at that level that I'll make a recommendation, and I'll understand when to compensate that criteria for that criteria. So I think this is the importance of what is coming forward. And I think that's why I said in the beginning that this is revolutionary. It's not evolutionary.
Do you think that in this revolution, Dimitrios, you touched base on that already, but I'd like to have a clear quote from you. Do you think that in this revolution, there is somehow a tension between this digital transformation, AI-empowered friend, if you want, and the human-centric nature of travel?
No.
Why not?
Because AI will be super human-centric.
Can you further elaborate? I'm very interested. Can you further elaborate on this?
Yeah, we are not, for the time being, the tourism industry is not human-centric. It's human-centric at the very end. You cannot still check in Switzerland before 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You arrive at 7 o'clock, and human centricity means check-in time 3 o'clock. Oh, your room is not ready. Come back at 4, right? I would like my AI to say, Buhalis landed. I will match with some of the people who have just left. I'll get the housekeeping people to clean the room and turn it around. And I know that the taxi from the airport to here is about 35 minutes. So on arrival, I'll take him to his room. This is what I call human touch. The check out at 11, check in at 4 is not human touch for me. It's going to the restaurant and choose one of the 25 items on the menu is not personalization.
What about the people working in the field? That's a big issue, Dimitrios. I mean,
Okay, people in the field, those good professionals, they're super used to this. They understand, and the very good professionals, they have predicted already. They've asked you, what time do you arrive at the airport? They've asked you, what is your flight? And they've checked what time your flight has arrived. So before you actually do anything, they've prepared your room. The good Anna in Hotel Dante in Lugano, as soon as she knows Buhalis is there, she brings carrot juice because she remembers. She may use some technology in the background, but she remembers that Buhalis takes carrot juice for breakfast in the morning. So the good professionals will be given with tools. The non-good professionals will also be given with tools, but they will find much more difficult to justify their role in this game. Because if the machine can actually knows all the things that you need to know, you have despecialization.
Yeah, that's Dimitrios is a very interesting perspective actually. Can I trigger you on something else that may be of interest? That is sustainability. How do you see the relationship between sustainability and digitalization and what we are discussing now?
Well, sustainability for the time being is treated as a religion. You need to believe in sustainability and you need to follow what the sustainable Pope has said, right? But we don't actually understand what is the actions, what is the impact of our actions. So if we can break down sustainability into granular elements, and if I know that the avocado I'm eating is coming from Mexico, I will not eat it until I go to Mexico. So I would like to know what is the source of the material that's on my plate to make clever, sustainable decisions. I would like to know my CO emissions from my car, the train, the plane, the boat, or whatever else I'm using. So if we can use this clever technology to understand the environmental impact of our actions, and if AI can come forward and suggest ways that we can improve our efficiency and reduce our impact, then we're winning. Now, I've got to say something because we're probably getting towards the end. And I'm a technology evangelist. So all the good examples I've given you are where technology can bring things forward. There are a lot of challenges that we can see. Privacy is the obvious one. The concentration of power on very few people is also a very important one, because the technology can be as good as those people who are managing it. The ability of having an anthropocentric approach to things and bring benefits to the different stakeholders in terms of the consumers, the local people, the employees, is also very important. Because if the technology is driving me and AI is driving me to the thing that's going to maximize the profit of someone who is controlling it, or it's maximizing the power of someone who is controlling it, will be detrimental. The same thing applies to the small business. Can the small business have got access to this technology, or is that only the big companies that are going to have access to this? And this is where we need policy, we need legislation, we need a whole range of other things that's not my expertise, that need to make sure that we have got a field that is fair and it's appropriate for all those people who are engaging in this. Because if we don't do that, we are going to have more problems rather than less. But the technology brings capabilities and challenges. But the capabilities are very, very strong to be a revolution. The challenges, we've got to address them. But it's the same thing with your car. Your car can take you to do a lot of things with your family, whatever, but can also kill you. It's exactly the same thing.
Right. You touched base already on my very last question. I found these last points very interesting. If you have to say one thing that is going to look into the future, say, how is the travel sector looking like in 2040 in light of what you just said? What is the main thing or the main innovation or revolution you see in 2040?
2040 is 15 years away, roughly. So what I see is hyper-personalization, the ability of giving me what I want without the bullshit that goes around it. Optimize the experience, optimize the price, optimize the engagement, optimize the people I would like to do it. And actually what technology will do is create the path for you to achieve what you want. Now, I'm an old guy. I remember 30 years ago, you were going to a restaurant and you had the half-board meal pre-booked. And the half-board meal pre-booked meant that you could have one of the three main courses that you may have. And this is how people were traveling for a long time. If you say that now, people will laugh. And I think this is exactly where technology will drive us, to the hyper-personalization, where it will give you the things that you want, whether you know what you want and don't know what you want, because a lot of people don't know what they want when they travel. If I go to a place I've never been before, how do you expect me to know what I want? So technology and AI will enable us to understand deeply the desires and the interest and what people are engaged with. And it will create hyper-personalization to get you to itineraries or experiences that they maximize the value for you in that particular context, at that particular moment, at that particular location, with the people that you travel with. Because again, you're not traveling alone quite often. You travel with other people. So you compromise instantly what you would like to do. If we go together, we have one conversation. If I go with Asian friends, we may go to a totally different, we may go for spicy food and eat even Hawaiian pizza, right? But it's really about hyper-personalization in the context of where you are and who you are and what you're trying to achieve.
Dimitrios, thank you very much for this inspiring conversation, except for the Hawaii pizza, but this is something that I excuse you with this.
Well, it's not my choice, but the reason I bring it, because I know that you have got an allergy to Hawaiian pizza, naturally, as an Italian, but some people love it. So technology will take you as far as away from Hawaiian pizza as possible, but will take those people who like Hawaiian pizza to people who like Hawaiian pizza. And that's their problem,
Yes, I understand. Dimitrios, thank you very much. It's always inspirational to talk to you. And thank you.
Grazie mille.
Grazie mille.
Thank you for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please spread the word and share it with your colleagues, friends, and family. To make sure you don't miss the latest episodes, subscribe to our channel.